Do you struggle with finishing tracks? Do you have hundreds of loops which could be transformed into techno bangers if you only knew how to do that? I will show you two simple techniques, the subtractive arrangement and the Stargaze technique, which will get you out of any loop. We will also take a look at the arrangement curve, which will be the foundation of your track structure. On top of that, I will give you a few suggestions which will help you finding the best track structure for yourself. This would be the starting point for most of you, a 4-bar long loop. You will know your project is ready to be arranged once that single loop sounds decent and full. If you are not sure whether your loop sounds decent or not, it's best to compare it against your reference track. It could be a track in your subgenre made by a producer you like and favor. In your DAW, load your loop and a reference track and listen to both things switching back and forth. You will quickly feel whether something is missing from your loop. If you feel that your loop doesn't sound decent, it's best to return to the sound design stage and polish these sounds. I personally took already care of all the individual channels. For example, here I have a synth channel with applied reverb and multiband compressor to make the sound full and rich. The kick drum channel has already thrown two saturator effects to make this kick sound heavy. Also, you can add more sounds, but from my experience, the more sounds you have, the more difficult the arrangement gets. How many sounds should you have in the project before starting the arrangement? The better the sounds, the less of them you need. You can get by with 10 sounds if they are already full. For me, an enough amount is a full hi-hat pattern, a kick drum with a bass line, a synthesizer or main pad sound, and a few extra one-shot effects. And later during the arrangement, if you feel you can't push forward, you can always add another sound, whether it's a synthesizer or a simple riser. We will arrange this track with the use of a subtractive arrangement technique. I will select the whole loop and click Ctrl D to duplicate the loop for around 50 times. The result should be a big block of sounds and MIDI clips. We want to remove individual MIDI clips and add or remove the sounds to form desired track sections. But what are these track sections and how long they should be? We need to use some kind of a template. This is my own invention, an arrangement curve. I like to think of an arrangement as the representation of tension or emotions during the time. Most of the tracks start out with an intro. A purpose of the intro is to introduce the listener to the individual sounds, and also it prepares the listener to the main part. The main part, which has the most of the energy and tension, will not be as powerful as without the intro. Without weak and calm parts of the track, there are not hard and exciting sections. Generally, having an idea on what the main parts should sound like, it will be much easier for you to arrange the breakdown, intro and outro. After the intro, there comes the main part where you use most of the sounds. These parts of the track have the biggest amount of energy and tension. They usually last for a minute or two. This main part is later followed by a breakdown, which serves a few purposes. If you want to have your track DJ friendly, it's good to introduce the breakdown, because most of the DJs, when they mix two tracks with each other, they are going to do the transition during the breakdown. Also, people who are dancing to your track on the rave give some of the rest by introducing the breakdown in the middle, which is supposed to be calmer than the main sections. So having the breakdown in your arrangement is quite beneficial. That is why most of the drum and bass, techno, dubstep tracks has one. This breakdown splits the two main parts, which give you more possibilities to arrange the track. The second main part can be slightly different from the first one. Here I can add an extra sound or have a more exciting melody, which will make this second main part even more exciting than the first one. The last section of the track is the outro. It usually has the least amount of energy, tension, emotions in the whole track. Most of the times people don't pay lots of attention to the outro when they arrange it, which I find bad. As two main parts of the track can be different, you can also create a different outro than the intro. The listener already knows the atmosphere and the set of sounds you have used. You have a great chance to create something experimental or totally different in the outro. This is going to surprise the listener in a pleasant way, and because the listener already knows the vibe of the whole track, it will not give off a feeling that the outro belongs from a totally different track. My name is Marcin. I put out sound design tutorials every second Sunday. I create everything from scratch and I show you step by step how things get done. If you don't want to miss such videos, then subscribe to my channel. If you want to learn music production on a professional level fast, contact me for private music production lessons. This arrangement curve shows you what sections should be present in the track, but it doesn't answer the question of how long each section should be. This naturally depends on a few factors. If you produce an aggressive track, you might want to have a short intro. If your project doesn't involve lots of sounds, it will be difficult to arrange a 2 minutes long breakdown. If you are totally clueless on how to start, it's beneficial to have some kind of a template. And again, a reference track will come handy. I have already duplicated that single 4-bar long loop to get a big block which lasts for 6.5 minutes. On the top channel I have thrown my reference. I have listened to this reference track and pointed out where each track sections begin by using the markers. Later I'm going to use the same markers to split my big block into individual track sections. This is just a starting point. Later during the arrangement, as you will add and remove the sounds, you will want to adjust the length of the track sections. In Ableton, if you want to make a section shorter, you select a part which you are interested in removing and hit the delete time from the edit window. If you want to make some section longer, it might be useful to insert a silence and empty space between some of the MIDI clips. How should you cut out the elements and what could be your track structure? Now I will give you a few suggestions. Again, if you want to produce an aggressive track, it's okay if you already start with a full percussion and bass line combo. If you produce a melodic techno or an atmospheric track, you can start off with a single synthesizer or a pad sound. If your project has over 30 sounds, you might want to think about splitting these sounds into two groups and using the sounds from one of the group only in one section of the track. This is something you can hear in the SDB Symphony track. The sounds played during the breakdown are not going to be present in the remaining sections. Talking about the breakdowns, sometimes the simplicity is the key. If you have a very groovy and rhythmic track, you want to make it sound hypnotic. In the breakdown, just play the main beat and take out the kick drum or the bass line. This is the same project after my arrangement. I will give you some commentary to show you my thought process and insight. I'm used to making a second part, the second main part of the track, different from the first one. The easiest thing to differentiate these two sections is by introducing in the second main part some sounds which were not used before. For me, this synthesizer channel serves this purpose. I have introduced this sound for the first time at the very end of the breakdown. Both the intro and breakdown were arranged using a simple staircase arrangement technique. We start out with a single sound and after a fixed amount of time, let it be 8 bars or maybe 16 bars, we add another sound, and after next 8 bars we add something more. So we have started out with the kick drum. After that I am adding the effects. Later I have the hi-hats, and even later we are introducing the bass line. As you can see, all of these look like stairs. If you want to help your DJ even more, Remember to put some rhythmic elements in the intro and the breakdown sections. For a DJ, it's very easy to beat match the track with another one because he doesn't have to find any cue points. He can start beat matching right from the beginning. Another example of the staircase arrangement is in the outro. We start it out with most of the sounds playing, but after first 16 bars, I get rid of 2 sound effects. And also, the hi-hat pattern is becoming simpler and simpler by removing individual hi-hats from the percussion loop. Aside from simple adding or removing sounds, I also manipulated the tension or the energy of the track by switching the drum patterns or introducing different rhythms. The best example of it is in the second main part section of this track. The original kick drum pattern is very dense and we have lots of kick drums. So to easily manipulate the energy and make some of the part of the track less exciting, we can simplify the kick drum pattern. Let's listen quickly to these 2 8-bar pieces of audio. And here comes the advice for the future. Never remove any loops, samples, rhythms, drum patterns which were in the prior version of your track. Later, if you try to arrange such a tune and you will get stuck, these leftovers will be very useful and beneficial. Very often you will find out that switching immediately from the intro to the main part can be difficult. Often thing which producers do is by introducing some kind of a bridge or a build up. And this can be a 4-bar long piece of audio which is put between the intro and the main part. I have used this build up to introduce the bass sound, and we both know that is a bridge because here I don't have the kick drum playing. The second example is naturally between the breakdown and the second main part. I want to introduce that synth channel. If I simply add this sound without unmuting all these hi-hats and bass channels, the second drop would not be this impactful. Also, this synth channel, this synthesizer sound, couldn't be introduced that well. This is what does the arrangement curve look like after arranging the whole track. As you see, the transition between the intro and main part, or the breakdown and the main part, now is much more fluent. Thanks to both staircase arrangement, which is here in the intro, here in the breakdown, or here in the outro, but also with the use of the build-ups. If you want to listen to this arrangement, I have put a link down in the description box. You can close your eyes and listen critically to get a feel of what is happening during the time. Some sections of this track could be made even more interesting, and this is what we will take care of in the next arrangement tutorials. In the beginning of July, we will return to the sound design and to the Clank and Snare music. That's everything for today. Thanks for watching and see you next time.